Okay, so my three topics that I decided to do my planning about or to think about were crises going on at the U.S.-Mexico border, to talk about the problems in the food industry, and finally to inform the public about the joys of being an X-ray tech. So the main one that I really wanted to focus on would be the crisis at the US-Mexico border. So I made a mind map about that. So I kind of started with the US-Mexico border into the center, and I kind of branched off into a few different areas. And the main ones that I focused on were drugs, the unvetted entry of people, and finally crime rates. I try to also keep it a little bit more positive and include other things, because I recognize that not everything that comes into the United States from Mexico on that border is bad. So I also started to think about multiculturalism, having the United States be a melting pot into the as a melting pot into the world, and on top of that, due to this melting pot, it then connects us to a more diverse and even a different culture than ourselves. But I really wanted for this to focus on the crises that were going on. So I first selected drugs, and I picked the most prominent ones in today in the United States. So that would be fentanyl, PCP, cocaine. I then talked about the unvetted entry and just how anyone can come in and sneak into the United States illegally, and that just puts a lot of people in danger, specifically first the locals. It puts them in danger, but then they also then spread out and they actually blend into suburban areas, and that's what makes them a threat to other people as well. And then finally, crime rate goes up. A lot of the times during illegal immigration, we have members of MS-13, which is a dangerous criminal organization or a gang in Mexico, and they drive up crime rates all across the world or all across the country, and it makes it unsafe. And then I also kind of started to draw connections between multiple points. For example, drugs, it leads to higher crime rates, or the more advanced problems that it cause, for example, drugs, they're targeted towards children, and that is bad. You know, we don't want our kids addicted to drugs. So for my thesis statement for the US-Mexico border, I said the United States should better protect the United States-Mexico border due to the flow of drugs that pour in through the border, the sex trafficking that occurs, and the undocumented entrance into the U.S. made by dangerous criminals. Some of the sources that I used are the U.S. Custom and Border Control's documents released by the United States Congress, and even the Department of Justice have released several pieces about it. Things that I found were back in 2014, when fentanyl was first discovered across the border, there was about 22 pounds seized in the entire fiscal year of 2014. Well, then from October of 2022 through September of 2023, more than 27,000 pounds of fentanyl has been seized. The U.S. Congress identified and have located in 2016 57,700 victims of sex trafficking that happened at the United States-Mexico border. And the Department of Justice have actually recognized patterns as well of gang members and how they start local. For example, the most common place is Texas, because it has the longest border with Mexico, and then they spread out throughout the United States and blend into suburbs. My second would be the thesis about the food service industry. I said the service industry work, such as food or retail, should be required by all able-bodied teens due to the current disrespect faced by current service workers, the lack of understanding of what workers go through, and the ability it can have to form personal connections with others. So the BBC did a study post-COVID, past pandemic, and I would focus on this a lot, talking about how verbal abuse faced by industry workers, by customers, have gone up 50% since the end of COVID. Learning.org describes the work environment at a fast food place, just in the food business in general, as fast-paced and hectic. And these are good environments to get teens to prepare themselves, and it could build skills necessary to work in different career paths later down their life. And finally, I would focus on the connections that it could form with others. The National Institute of Medicine have recognized that since COVID had ended, depression and loneliness have gone up. And so by mandating teenagers that are able-bodied to go work into the food industry, it'll force them to form new connections with other people that they wouldn't normally make. And it helps them, again, form more connections and even work together as a team with new people. My final piece would be about X-ray techs and how I believe it is the best industry to go into. So my thesis would be being an X-ray technologist is the best career due to the constant patient care, the active participation in the life-altering and life-saving procedures, and the unique challenges faced every day. So a lot of it I could explain from personal experiences and take personal testimonials from other people that I work with, but I also did some research into it as well. So according to the CDC, roughly 35% of people that enter the emergency room require some form of x-rays. And this study was done in between 2010 and 2016. But between that time period, an additional 25% others required additional exams such as CT. And according to what we have learned in our RadTech textbooks as well, the need for CT has only gone up from there. So it's a constant environment where we are always needed. The College of Rheumatoid Arthrology stated that 790,000 knee replacements are done annually, along with 544,000 hip replacements are done annually. And each of those require an X-ray tech to help out. It can't get done. You need pre-op imaging, you need intra-op imaging, and you even need post-op imaging to one, see how the joint was before the device was implanted, two, to confirm the device was implanted in the right spot and successfully, and three, to show how the body is healing post-op. And finally, even according to studies done by, I was surprised about this, Columbia University, they said that being an X-ray tech is challenging, and some of the hardest things that we face every single day is having to deal with patients emotionally. People, a lot of the times I don't run into healthy people at the hospital. A lot of the times it's sick people or people that are going through a crisis, and you have to think about how you can help that person and not just worry about getting the images, but actually focusing on a more holistic and patient-centered care.